I was a national park ranger. Here are some of the things I encountered. Hi there, I'm Samantha, Sam for short, and I was a park ranger for 6 years. I won't specify where, as I don't want to get in trouble. One of the people I worked with told me to read the other park ranger stories on here, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And shit, is it good to see someone being honest. It inspired me to write some of my own stories. People need to know what is happening in the woods. I quit my job a couple years ago. I couldn't deal with having to bottle up all the things I've seen. Nobody wants to talk about them, but I feel I'm drowning in the memory of it all. So I'm going to share them. I don't know if I'll be able to share it all. It might be too hard, but I'll give it a go. I hope this raises some awareness of the true danger of the woods and make people consider their safety. I don't want people to think I'm copying someone or making these up. I'm just sharing my stories and experiences. So, let's get into it. This was my first ever weird experience as a junior ranger. To this day, I still don't know what I saw, but I know it wasn't friendly. I had just received a call about screams coming from deeper in the forest off one of the more popular trails. This really wasn't unusual. If you've heard a mountain lion, you know it sounds like a woman screaming. So, just as I was about to set off, my chief asked the time to come along too. I found this a little odd as the job seemed a bit too insignificant for his rank, but I brushed it off as I was new and thought maybe he wanted to check my progress. We set off, making small talk, and obviously I was trying to suck up a little. We were joking around. He made a quick remark and said something about making sure I never take these small jobs lightly. Always take them seriously, because you'll never know what you'll find. That was some of the most valuable advice I'd gotten from someone on this job, because I learned my lesson from not listening to it. But that's a different story. We get to the area where the call was, and began north of the trail where the noise had been heard. We hear the screams, and it sounds like a mountain lion, but something sounds really off about it. We kept walking towards it. We're about 10 minutes into walking towards the sound when all of a sudden, it's like the sound had been sucked from the woods. It was dead silent. I couldn't even hear my breathing. I thought maybe I'd gone deaf, but I looked at my chief and he had that same nervous expression on his face as I did. But by the way he was reacting, it felt like he had dealt with something similar before, which I now know to be true. Just as quick as the silence came, I started to hear this low buzzing, but it wasn't just buzzing. I could feel the vibration of it in my whole body, so much that my ears and jaws started to hurt. I can only describe it as if when you're getting your teeth drilled at the dentist, but it felt worse. Even my vision started to vibrate, and at that time, I swear, this black figure, about 7 feet tall, stepped out from a few trees in front of me. And it started with that same scream as it bent down and began to crawl towards us. As anyone would, just as anyone would. I freaked the fuck out. I took a step back to start running. My chief grabbed my arm just as I started to sprint, nearly knocking me over. He puts his other arm around me and holds my arms very tight as he begins to walk me out of the forest. Just as I'm about to put up a fight, tell him to fucking run, he says in a very calm voice, "Don't run, don't talk, don't look back, just keep walking." And I did exactly what he said. He knew something I didn't, and as much as I wanted to run, I didn't want to test the theory of death. That 10-minute walk was excruciating because I knew it was crawling behind us by the buzzing in the back of my head and the sound of its light wailing. I wanted to run so bad. Eventually, I think it ran off because all the noise in the forest came back and the buzzing stopped. We get back on the trail and I'm shaking. I was in so much shock I couldn't even cry. He let go of me and began walking back to the main base without acknowledging what had happened. I started going crazy, screaming at him, asking what the hell that was. And he says, and yeah, I remember word for word what he said. He said, "There are things in these woods that have been here longer than us that we can't explain or get rid of. If you don't think you can handle that, you should pack your bags now." He kept walking, and I walked a bit behind, trying to shake that horrible feeling and tried to find a more reasonable answer for what just happened. I clearly stayed in the job. When it was good, it was really good. I met some amazing people and I love nature. But in the end, the bad experiences outweighed the good, and I had to leave. I wish I had just left when he told me to pack my bags, and on all honesty, I know this experience doesn't sound all that scary, but trust me, there are worse ones. Living through it was definitely much scarier than reading it in words. Clearly, this encounter wasn't enough to scare me off, but the ones to come led to my departure of this job. Some experiences are scarier, but some are more explainable. I'm still debating whether to share the rest of my stories. Maybe I'll see how I feel after posting this. I'd love to hear other people's experiences. I'm Sam. Part 2 continued. If you're new here, hi. I'm Samantha, or Sam for short, and I used to be a national park ranger. This is part 2. I'm sure you can find part 1 if you go to my page or look around for it. I don't know. A lot of people seem to be interested in the stairs in the woods. Let me just start by saying that I have seen a set of stairs in the woods, and personally it wasn't all too scary, just a bit creepy. I know a couple of my friends back in the force to be reckoned with, have some stories about stairs, ones that they've mentioned in minor detail, but I want to share my experience first, and when and if I decide to contact them and get permission, maybe I'll post about it. I do, however, have a story about a ladder that I wish I could forget, as just thinking about it gives me the creeps. My experience with stairs is pretty tame, so I'll add another incident after it. We were doing a search for a young girl who had wandered off. We did find her, and she's fine. The team was stretched out pretty far, so I was walking by myself, but was in shouting distance of people. As I was walking, I found a set of stairs. These stairs sort of looked like they belonged here, but also didn't. They seemed overgrown and like they would have been the steps up to someone's house. But then I realized that there was no way someone could have put these here, and that I had come across a set of stairs that my coworkers had touched upon. I thought I'd feel more terrified if I ever came across a pair, but I really didn't. I had this urge to walk up them, though, like something was pulling my body towards them. Maybe it was the excitement of coming across the phenomenon, or maybe some dark shit at work, I don't know. Somebody had called me that they had found something, and I snapped back to reality. I'm really glad someone called out. I'm not sure if I would have walked up them otherwise. We found the girl, and all was well, but on the way back, I told one of my partners that I had seen some stairs. She looked at me concerned and kind of aggressively interrogated me, if I touched them or walked up them. I said no, and that was it. So yeah, pretty tame. Nothing too intense. Wish I had more to say about them, but I'm not gonna lie or overemphasize anything on here. The next occurrence isn't about stairs, but it is about a ladder, and I'd say they're pretty similar. This was somewhere into my first year as a park ranger, and around the start of summer, poison ivy tends to get pretty crazy, so we have to do weekly checks on the trails and the bush surrounding them. My partner and I get sent off to check some of the less popular trails. We get to this part on a smaller trail where it forks off for a couple minutes, then joins back at the end. Being idiots we split to meet back up where it connects again. Keep in mind, we could make each other out from the bush that sits in the middle of the path. No biggie, right? He takes the left and I take the right of the trail. As I'm walking along the path, keeping a cautious eye at the surrounding bush for some ivy, I notice something in the corner of my eye. I look to my right to see this large clearing in the middle of the trees. It looked like a man-made circle. It was so perfectly round, as if someone had been maintaining it. There wasn't a tree, not a bush, not even a weed. I was so focused on the ground and lack of flora, I almost didn't notice the giant, unmissable ladder. I clearly didn't have great observational skills. just stood exactly in the middle of the circle. I seriously cannot explain this, but the ladder was standing upright, leaning against nothing. It was like some unknown force was holding it up. I looked all the way up, and on top stood a man in a business suit. I know this sounds almost funny, but this guy looked like he had just walked straight out of a corporate building. On further instruction, I could see that his head was hanging back, looking up towards the sky. His mouth appeared to be gaped open, but I couldn't get a good look. I called up to him a few times, but no response. I walked around the ladder, trying to find some strings attached, hoping this was some kind of prank or weird art project, but I couldn't. The guy looked like he was on display for some art exhibition. I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't see my partner through the bushes, so I radioed him to come to my location. But in the meantime, I stupidly decided to touch the ladder. I know you're all probably mad that I went to touch the ladder. I am too. Don't touch weird shit you find in the woods, but I was new and naive. I get this weird feeling just as I'm about to touch the ladder, but I brush it off as just being spooked, and I touch it. The man at the top snapped his neck in this disturbingly contorted way to look towards me and gives out this ungodly gasp like he was taking his last breath of air. His expression is still gaped, but I've never seen something quite like this. It was like his eyelids and lips had been pulled back to make me seem more surprised. I step back, of course, and grab my taser. I hear rustling behind me, and I turn to stick my taser on whatever's coming for me. But it was just my partner emerging from the bush. He put his hands out quickly in hopes to not be tased. I look back to the circle, and now the ladder is flat on the floor, and the man is gone. My partner asked what was going on, and I explained what happened. I begged him not to think I was crazy. Of course, he didn't think that. He knew just as well as I did that this stuff was basically normal and happened all the time. We knew we wouldn't find this guy, but it's still protocol to look anyway. I didn't enjoy that one bit. I was praying we wouldn't find him. Never saw anything like this again, and neither has anyone I've ever talked to. I mean, this guy he was just balancing on the very top of the ladder. It was the ladder that wasn't leaning against anything. Who knows, maybe I met Houdini or something. When you see things like this, you have to make a joke about it or you won't be able to move past it. I'm really glad people are enjoying what I have to say. Again, I don't know when I'll write more. Don't expect too much from me. This is kind of tiring and also pretty cathartic. I'm thinking of sharing less spooky stories and one that are just humans being mental. Thank you everybody, for listening to today's reading. It was written by One Seaworthiness 742 from r/nosleep on Reddit. Alright, everybody, and that is the end of our reading. Be sure to like and comment what you think down below. Subscribe if you enjoyed the story. There will be more to come. Sweet nightmares, everyone, and good night.